It's match day as Arsenal take on PSG in the Champions League semi-final. I cannot quite wait for this evening, but we've got plenty to talk about ahead of today's massive Arsenal fixture. This is today's Arsenal News Show. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys and girls for another episode of what is the Arsenal News Show. Joining you every single morning at 8 a.m. UK time. Thank you so much as always for joining me and making this a part of your morning routines. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you're doing good. I hope you're doing well. And I hope you've had a really good week so far and that you're excited ahead of what is meant to be a massive fixture in not just this season, but in every season for Arsenal. Good morning to you all. Really appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Apologies, the audio is obviously slightly different. As you can tell, I'm in different surroundings than usual. I'm here in Paris ahead of the game tonight against PSG. So we're on the AirPods today. So apologies, the audio is not the same crisp, clear microphone level settings that we usually have. But I hope that you can indeed hear me clearly and as crisply as possible. Do let me know that everything's coming through all right in the chat box. I hope it is, because I'm going to be on Sky Sports in about an hour's time as well, using this same setup. So if you want to see that and you are based in the UK, I think you get Sky Sports News outside, but on the hour, 9 o'clock UK time, of course, 10 a.m. French time or CE, Central Europe time, I'll be over on Sky Sports as well. So if you want to watch that, head over to Sky Sports News at about 9 o'clock. Good morning to all of you, though, in the chat box. Thank you so much for tuning in. Very much appreciate you being here. Temi, Answer, Mr. Ree, Roy, Dellen. We've got James, we've got Maximius, we've got Mr. Ree, we've got Carlton, we've got Martin, we've got Black Shine and Tom, we've got Matt G, we've got Rob and Hooded Gooner, Black Shine, Paul. Good morning to all of you. Really appreciate you tuning in. It is indeed greatly appreciated you all being here. So thank you so much for listening, for tuning in, for joining me as we look ahead to this massive game for Arsenal. Let's scroll down and chat a little bit more, shall we? I think it's a special day, so we need to say more good morning to more people. We've got Baz and Leroy, we've got Amber Lee, we've got Kirill and Harry. Good morning to you all. The audio seems to be coming through very clearly. And I've just realised on the screen as well, for some reason I've put Inter Milan 3-3. In fact, I don't want to put even 4-3. I want to put 7-6. But thank you, Claire, for pointing that out. I really appreciate that. 7-6 was the scoreline. So that is what the scoreline was. So thank you for pointing that out. Really appreciate it. It's amazing. I didn't think it was going to end with another goal, but we were treated to one of the greatest games in European football history. I mean, across both legs, I think it's worth pointing that out. So we'll talk about that game. In fact, we're going to talk about it right now. Inter Milan 6, or rather Barcelona 6, Inter Milan 7 across those two legs. What an absolutely unbelievable tie. What brilliance. This is what football is all about. This is what we love the game for matches like this, moments like this, for games like this. I can't see Arsenal's being similar. I just can't see it being such a high-scoring affair. The first leg, of course, was as cagey as just that 1-0 victory. But it was an amazing display of attacking, and particularly attacking talent. Defensively, not as much. I mean, 7 goals conceded by Barcelona across 2 legs, 6 goals conceded by Inter Milan across 2 legs. Yeah, I mean, if you're a defensive coach, you're absolutely fuming for both sides. But if you're on the winning team, it doesn't matter, does it? You get to define it by any means possible, by any way you can. Inter Milan, I don't think, were the favourites at all going into this. They weren't the team expected to go through. Barcelona have been on an incredible run of form. They've got some brilliant, world-class level talent. Players like Lamine Yamal, players like Rafinha, players, of course, in the midfield that have been producing some of the best football we've seen this season. Amazing youth academy graduates, Carbassi at the back. These players that, frankly, I've barely even heard of as of a couple of years ago, and what they're producing is utterly insane. And this Inter Milan team just rallied. There was a period of the game where they took the lead in the game, and suddenly they've got this seemingly unassailable 5-3 advantage on aggregate. Barcelona come back, and you're thinking when Barcelona take the lead through Rafinha, you're like, that's it. Game's over. It's done. Finished. And then the unlikeliest of heroes, Acerbi. I remember that goal that Manolas, another defender, scored for an Italian club, Roma, against Barcelona in Rome. Some of the brilliant commentary. I think it was Peter Drury on commentary at the time. The Greek in Rome. That commentary sticks with me. And this felt very similar. Obviously, it wasn't a winning goal for Acerbi in the same way it was for Manolas back when he scored against Lionel Messi's Barcelona. But it had the same kind of aura about it. The finish from... I mean, Acerbi is not known at all for his attacking potency. 37 years of age is Francesco Acerbi. And what he's achieving and what he has now achieved with Inter is kind of insane. So what a finish by him. What a moment. And then, of course, the second half starts. And, well, Inter Milan again regain their composure and find themselves with an opportunity in the box through Fratesi to score, who takes the strike unbelievably well. What a brilliant moment. What a brilliant spectacle to see in the San Siro. And whoever gets to the final is going to be facing off against an incredibly talented, industrious, difficult to beat Inter Milan side. Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. What a game. What an absolute brilliant, enjoyable watch that was. We watched it in a bar here in Paris, a number of us journalists, but there was obviously in the room like a lot of other just local people here in Paris, and everyone was kind of just enjoying the football, enjoying this absolute festival of goals and drama. And we really did have such a brilliant time just watching the game. We didn't want it to end, and when Acerbi scored, it was like a Christmas gift come soon to see 30 more minutes of this. And I really hope that Arsenal use this as inspiration tonight. I really hope they use this as fuel. I hope they use it as something to give them added kind of impetus and not invincibility, but certainly belief that they can go and achieve something ridiculous like Inter Milan really did on the night. And so, yeah, it was a great watch, a great moment. And Inter Milan are confirmed to be in Munich for the final. And now the question is, will it be Arsenal or will it be Paris Saint-Germain? Whoever it's going to be, it's a massive story. Any of these three teams, should they win it, it's a massive story for Arsenal and for PSG and for Inter. Whoever lifts it, it would be a brilliant occasion for any of those sides and mean a hell of a lot. So let's wait and see. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see it. And then we're going to see it very, very soon indeed. Moving though into Arsenal news specifically, and both Jurrien Timber and Riccardo Calafiori both trained ahead of the game against PSG this evening. Mikel Arteta, of course, in his press conference, which we'll talk through a little bit more in more detail shortly. In his press conference, he gave an update on Timber. Simon Collins asking for an update after, of course, he was spotted in training, and thankfully Jurrien, of course, did train, but Arteta didn't really want to give much away. He said, I will assess him today, whether he can start again or not. So we don't know whether or not Jurrien's going to be able to start, but certainly it's a positive sign to see him with the group, the fact that he's travelled, the fact that he's here in Paris. So let's wait and see. If not, of course, we've got Ben White in reserve, who's a very competent right back indeed. Considering, of course, we saw Calafiori, I also want to check with Mikel about Calafiori, and I asked him that we saw him in training, and how much of a benefit is that? And he said, yes, he's travelled and he's fit and ready to play when we need him, and that is great news too. So it seems that of the two, Calafiori is the one that appears more fit and ready to play than Jurrien Timber does, which is a little bit of a surprise, I think, considering, of course, we've not seen Calafiori in so long. He's not got any minutes yet. He's not match fit, you wouldn't assume. But both of them being in the squads and having travelled is a big boost and a significant double rise, if you like, to the team. So, yeah, really positive news is that. Now, we did, of course, speak to not just Mikel Arteta, but we also spoke to Declan Rice. I'm going to play you a little clip of my question to Declan Rice, courtesy of Haters. If you head over to the Haters channel, I'll left a link in the description to the full press conference and interview with Declan Rice. I'm hoping that you're going to be able to hear all of it. So I'm going to click play. It's going to play, and I'm hoping if you let me in the chat box that you can hear it. So here we go.
Hi, Dec. I think in the 100 games that you've now played for Arsenal, you've become one of the key leaders in the group. You're the team's leader, Martin Odegaard, the captain, has had, by his standards, he said himself, not his best season at Arsenal. How has he been outside of what we've seen, still as a leader for you off the pitch as a captain, and how important is that role for him and you in the group?
Yeah, he's incredible. He's our leader. He's our captain. He trains every single day. He plays every minute of every game. He's one of the best lads I've seen away from the pitch in terms of how he lives his life. He's got the full respect to the dressing room, the way he demands, the way he drives the team, the way he speaks. You wouldn't see him as that type of character, but he really is behind the scenes. And he's been amazing for us. I wouldn't want anyone else being our captain. And I think the lads, feel the same way about that as well. Obviously, everyone has a dip in form. I've had dip in forms before. It doesn't matter because he can deliver on the biggest stage, and tomorrow night I'm sure he will. So yeah, we're ready, and we're always with Martin because he's one of our best players.
So that was Declan Rice speaking, of course, ahead of the game tonight against PSG, and I think you get a sense, of course, I think there from what he's been saying and from the feeling around Martin Ødegaard has not been particularly positive. I think a lot of fans have sadly abandoned him, which is a real shame because obviously a player that was so good for the last 2 seasons, he's had a dip in form, as Rice talks about there. Every player goes through dips in form. Every player goes through periods where they have struggles, and it's a shame that a lot of our supporters have abandoned him in a season where he's had this dip, because I think you can hear from Declan Rice there, and of course he talks about the team as a whole. He talks about everybody respecting Martin Ødegaard, everyone in the team effectively saying he is the captain. No one else is going to be the captain. We all want him to be the captain. I thought Rice's answer was excellent. On Ødegaard, I really did. I was really happy that he gave such a detailed and quite frankly, a really supportive response to his captain. I look forward, of course, to seeing Ødegaard tonight. And speaking, of course, about what we expect to see tonight, one of the other things that Declan Rice said, which obviously, if you've watched it, as I said, you can go into the link in the description and watch the full press conference with Declan Rice and Mikel Arteta. But he said, we need to have big balls. We need to go out there on a bigger stage and show that we're ready to play at this level. The manager calls them magic moments. He always talks about having someone delivering a magic moment tomorrow night. Hopefully, we can deliver something special. And I thought it was a really interesting answer, actually, about the special moments and about how Rice says that Arteta is the person kind of talking, if you like, about those magic moments and what we can expect from that, because we don't really have, do we? We don't really have that player. We don't really have that guy that's giving us the magic moment, if you like. So I thought that was really, really interesting indeed. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to what we see this evening, and a magic moment, of course, from any of these players would be so good. Just because we don't really think about Arsenal having players that can produce that, but we have seen that moment from Rice, 2 moments from Rice against Real Madrid. We can produce something startlingly magic and a special moment. So we know that it is indeed possible. On to Mikel Arteta, and of course the press conference in general. He was in really good form. I think he was very determined. He was really on it regarding kind of this breaking historical records. Arsenal don't really have history on their side in this game, and he said, one of the most beautiful things for sure. I mean, again, 1 win away from being in a final. We cannot catch for anything else. Let's not do the talking. Let's do tomorrow that on the pitch at 9 o'clock when the game starts. So best version and win the game. He was asked about how and what they need to do to break that bad history that they've got, not just in this city, but in a semi-final. And he said, again, a lot of things that we did in the first game better, more consistently. If we do that, the probability for success will be very, very close to us. We are more than capable. We've done it in Europe against a lot of odds. Probably no one would say that we would be in this position. So that was against history as well. So let's make our own history. He obviously wanted to get the tagline, of course, of we're going to make it happen. He was asked about, being in Paris, being in this arena. We've not been in this stadium before for, a final. People mix up the Stade de France and the Parc des Princes. There are 2 different stadiums. And the Stade de France, where we had the Champions League final, is not this ground, but it is the city. And so he was asked about kind of that chaotic aura that we have, and he said at this stadium does in particular, that the atmosphere, the PSG fans, very volatile they can be. He said, depends. I think there would be different moments like you had in the first leg. Obviously, the result brings a lot of clarity. What both teams have to do for us is even clearer. That's it. And there are players on that team that have experienced that in many situations. We're looking at the amount of time they've played ties and how many times they have tried. We are here and it's our opportunity and we're going to make it happen. It speaks to, I think, what Mikel Marino, I don't know if you saw the quotes from Mikel Marino after the game against Bournemouth. He turned around and said, or off the Palace, I think it was, and he just said, with all due respect, I think we're going to win. I think we're going to win. And I was surprised to hear him talk so kind of committed in that way. You don't tend to see players want to be overcommitted in their answers to certain questions like that, but we did see that from Marino. And you've got to respect the ambition. You have to respect the determination, the belief that's in this squad. And you've got to have belief. If you don't believe you're going to win, then you've got absolutely no chance at all. So, yeah, Arteta was asked about a number of things. There was one interesting quote about trophies. And this is the answer he gave, and we'll talk about it. I'm not a big fan of it. I know what he means. I'm not a big fan of this answer, but we'll talk about it. The question was that Declan was saying earlier that Arsenal are very close to winning trophies, but do you feel under pressure to get it done this season? He said, we're going to try and do it this season. Winning trophies is about being in the right moment, in the right place. Liverpool have won the title with less points than we have in the last 2 seasons. But at the point of the last 2 seasons, we have 2 Premier Leagues. So you have to be in the right place at the right time, right moment in the right place. Hopefully here we are in the right moment, in the right place, in Paris tomorrow to earn the right to be in that final. So what he's effectively saying is, he's effectively saying that what Arsenal did in the last 2 seasons would have been good enough to win a title this season. Well, that's not how football works, obviously. And I know what he's trying to say. I know the message he's trying to get across, but I don't think it landed very well. I think it was kind of, and rightfully, I think was ripped apart because it wasn't really the best kind of look. Because the obvious reply is, well, you can't just look at previous seasons and say, if we'd have done that in this season, so what? I think I saw someone tweet saying, if my grandmother had wheels, she would have been a bike. It's that type of thing. And, different seasons have different contexts. You've got to be able to do it when you have these injuries, yes, as well. And I am sympathetic to Arsenal this season because of the injuries that we've had. But next season, there's no excuses. You need to go in the market. You need to address these problems. We know these problems can come up in this volume. We need to be ready to deal with that, of course, as well. So, yeah, I didn't particularly agree with that answer from Mikel, but it was a very Mikel type answer. But yeah, that was Arteta's press conference. You can read the whole thing, of course, on the Football.London website. You can watch it at the link in the description to the Haters website as well. A massive thank you to them for the clip regarding the Declan Rice clip as well. So there you go. Let's go then to part 2, which is going to be a quick preview ahead of today's game with lineups, thoughts, predictions, and more right after this. If this plays. Here we go. Didn't want to work for me this morning, the technology, clearly, but here we are. Part 2 of today's show where we go into the preview ahead of the game against PSG, of course, the lineup that we would like to see, the lineup that you would like to see, the predictions, of course. This, for me, is the only team, I think, that we can start. The only question mark, I think, is on Jurrien Timber, how fit and ready he is. But this, I think, is the obvious team. Some of you may drop Odegaard here for Waneri. Fair enough if you do. But I think, I don't think that will happen. I don't think I would do that. I think we have to give the opportunity. He is our captain. He is going to play in this game. And we've got to hope that he can have one of his better performances. What a moment it could be, of course, for him to have something of a performance that we have been waiting for him to have for quite some time. Saliba, Kivior, big job on their hands. Same with Timber or White, of course, but I think it will be Timber. Miles Lewis-Skelly. They've got to lock down a very potent, a very threatening PSG attack inside. And we've got to win the midfield battle. And I think, of course, the return of Thomas Partey should help us do that. We struggled in the first half, in the first leg, with the first 15 minutes in particular, to kind of control the chaos. And Rice had this desire to go forwards, and that opened up spaces. And we were a little bit lost in moments as well. So having back this structure, back this team. Saka and Martinelli in those wide areas. We've got Trossard and come off the bench because it's not Trossard starting up front for me. It is Mikel Merino. I really, really, really hope it is Merino up front. I think this team, this system needs that figure up front. I think it needs that target man. I think it needs that focal point. And we know that Merino is indeed that player. I just don't think there can really be any debate that this is the team. This is the one. This is the side. And now we're going to go to your scoreline. So if you want to get some predictions into the chat box, now is the time to do that. From a personal point of view, I'm an optimist in the purest, most mental way possible. I really believe Arsenal can do this tonight. Equally, they may not. But I really, really think Arsenal can produce something special tonight. And I think they can score a number of goals. I think they can shock PSG. I think they can unsettle them, and I think they can surprise them. And I'm going to go with a 3-1 Arsenal victory here. I really think the momentum, if Arsenal can get it early, could be their friend in this game. Equally, I think if PSG score first, I think it's probably over. And so that's why it's so important that Arsenal get the first goal in this game. They have to get the first goal in this game if they've got a hope, I think, of going through. So let's wait and see. But what a potential tie we've got ahead of us. What a surprise we could see. But let's go into the chat box and see what you guys are saying, shall we? Mohammed says 3-1 Arsenal. Going the same scoreline as me. NSW says 3-0 PSG. Not particularly confident. Matt G says 3-1 Arsenal. Raditya says 2-0 to the Gunners. Zach says 2-0. I hope that's to Arsenal. Kirill says 3-2 Arsenal's 5-7 win on penalties. Goodness, what an evening that would be. Mikey says, of course we can do it. Loka says 2-0. Kasakia also going for a 3-0 PSG victory. Advaita says 1-1. Yasir, not confident at all. Going for an 8-0 PSG win. Maybe some reverse psychology in the chat this morning. Kazita says, Tom, please just tell them to shoot. 2-1 Arsenal win. That would, of course, mean going to penalties, which Paul thinks we will, and then, of course, win on penalties. Oslo says 2-0. Jabu says 2-0. Moabi says 2-0 to the lads. I hope that's the Arsenal lads. Jerome says, I think we'll lose 2-1, but I pray I'm wrong. Gooner says, I predict a 3-1 Arsenal win. LSJV says 2-0 Arsenal. Saka, late victory. Barry says 2-0. Mark says 3-1. Carlton says 2-1 after 90 minutes. Blackshine says 2-0. Come on, you Gooners. Sean says 4-1. Wong Tong Soup says 3-1 after extra time. Charlie says 2-0. And Hudzefa says red card for PSG. Could be some refereeing drama. I don't know if you know the history of the referee that Arsenal got tonight, but I recommend doing some Googling. It's an interesting story, that's for sure. Right, we're going to go to part 3 now. Your questions and thoughts for the next 15 minutes or so, right after. Right, this is part 3 of today's show, where we're going to be tackling some of your questions in the chat box. So if you've got a question that you would like to throw in, now is the time to do so. Chuck them into the chat, and I'll be tackling as many of them as I can. I think I might have missed some earlier on when people thought we were going to part 2 straight away. So I'll see if I can scroll up. Axel says, what's your thoughts on using 5 at the back in the first 60 minutes? Subbing Odegaard on for Calafiori will do the business today. 7 is my favourite number, and and what? Mine's my favourite? What? I've no idea what that is. On the 5 at the back thing, the answer is no. I don't think we should do this. Arsenal need to try and score. We're not looking here to defend deep. We're not trying to hold on to a lead at the moment. We might move to a back 5 if Arsenal do have a lead going into the latter stages of the game. But otherwise, no, I don't think that's the right. I don't think that's the right aim forwards either. Gunner Down Under says, what's up, Tom? Great question to Rice. Interesting watching his body language when he answered. We win tonight. We win the final. His body language, I don't know what I noticed about it, but he seemed quite determined, you know. I think there's a real unity in this group. I think there's a real kind of sense that, you know, they respect each other unbelievably. It is a family kind of sense you get from this team. And I think he really wanted to point out the fact that Odegaard is considered to be the captain and no one else is considered to be the captain at all in this group. But there are leaders. Certainly, there are leaders in this team as well. DJ says, not match related, but what are your thoughts on the Jamie Gittins link? So this is something that's kind of come out in recent days. Jamie Gittins been linked with a move to Arsenal. particularly reports in Germany suggesting that Gittins could be a player that Arsenal like. In terms of kind of stylistically, he kind of is a little bit similar to Saka in a way that he loves taking players on. He loves the ball at his feet. He's a very good dribbler. I really do think that, you know, there are some stylistic, you know, things that I like a lot about Jamie Gittins, but there are also some elements of his game that are not yet quite rounded enough. I mean, he's only 20 years of age, so he's still got a lot of development to do. Just looking at his stats this season in the Bundesliga, he's got 8 goals and 3 assists in 21 starts so far this campaign, 30 appearances overall. And, you know, I'm looking here at some of the non-penalty XG. His finishing is not necessarily stacking up. He's underperformed in his XG this season, 3.6 non-penalty XG. Hold on, sorry, that's completely wrong. Ignore everything I just said. I'm looking at the wrong stat. He's overachieved his XG quite considerably, actually. 3.6 non-penalty XG, 8 non-penalty goals is very good. It's more than double his non-penalty XG, which is quite impressive indeed. 2.5x assisted goals and 3 assists as well is really good to see as well. Just in terms of his shot creating actions, so I'm a quick look down on shot creation. 3.72 shot creating actions per 90 in terms of where that ranks him. It's not like amazing, you know, it's only the 48th percentile across Europe for shot creating actions. It's actually his goal scoring is what he's known more for. And maybe that is what Arsenal need, another goal scorer in a wide position. But I think he's an interesting player. I'm not necessarily sure he's kind of like the top end of my list, but certainly he's a player I think that would give Arsenal something different, could potentially be one for the future, could give Arsenal an immediate impact, yes, but I think more so would be about what he can do in 3, 4, 5 years' time more than this or maybe even next season. But he's a good player. I'm just not sure if he's the player. You know, that's I think is the question mark about Jamie Gittins. But a lot of you seem to like him. Rich says, I would love Gittins. LSJV says, would Gittins not just be a bit like getting Martinelli again? I guess that's kind of a fair question to ask. Is he how much of an upgrade on Martinelli is he? I don't know if he's a massive upgrade or not, but I think there's certain differences in his game. Finishing-wise, he seems to be better. Take-ons-wise, he seems to be slightly better. Damien says, greetings from Sydney. I think we need more creativity and we rely on Saka too much. I think that's absolutely fair. Jay says, a concern would be that if we manage to take it into extra time, who is going to come on with the same quality as PSG's bench? Does this mean that we need to score at least 2 and avoid extra time? I think the return of Calafiori is obviously a really important thing for us. I think that's a really good thing for Arsenal to have him back. He can produce things in the final third, not just a defensive third, but having him in the squad is obviously a really big benefit. So I think that's definitely a positive. But yeah, you're right. You know, Trossard being on the bench is something else to give us something more. But outside of that, you're looking at maybe Ben White for Timber. You're looking at Ethan Nwaneri, of course, as well, maybe just to give us something else. But I think Calafiori being back gives us something. Raheem Sterling, sadly, I don't think so. But you've got Nwaneri, you've got Trossard. They can offer you more this time than we have had in previous games. Martin says, with Raya, we have no chance with penalties unless they miss the target completely. His penalty antics are bizarre. What I would say, Martin, is, of course, Arsenal did manage to win a penalty shootout with David Raya in goal against Porto last season. So we do know that he can be better. He's just not, of late, been particularly great when it comes to that position. So I empathise with that view, but we do know that he can produce in penalty shootouts. Mike says, sorry I asked early, so maybe you probably missed any clues of whether in the black or blue kit. I think we'll probably be wearing red tonight, no? Pretty sure we'll be in red tonight. So let me have a quick look at the Arsenal Twitter feed. That usually gives it away. Next match. Where's the next match tag? Oh, they've not got one. I assume we'll be in red because the kit they're showing is red on everything. So yeah, I think it'll be. I'll be very surprised if it's the black kit. The blue and black kits, they're closer to the PSG color of dark blue. So I would assume it's going to be the red kit tonight, but I might be wrong. I could be wrong. And Ganadana says, what's your views on Mosquera? Yeah, another player linked with a move to Arsenal. Valencia defender, of course, young player as well. I haven't seen loads of him, I'll be very honest with you. I was looking at some of his stats yesterday, and they don't necessarily stand out, but Arsenal do need depth in that position. but I've not really watched enough of him to give you much of a thought. But if Arsenal were going to sign a defender, I thought it would probably be of the younger, kind of more potential variety than somebody that's, more established, someone that's going to come in and be a starter. I don't think Arsenal have an opening for that type of player. So a Mosquera, I think, probably makes sense in that way. So, yeah, there's my thoughts on that one. Jamsy says, I'd be lying if I said I didn't have my doubts about Arteta and his capabilities, but today is a blind faith day. Arteta will pull off a masterclass and we'll go through pride and be on the emotions tonight as well. I mean, what a day. Of course, you'll be able to join me tomorrow morning, bright and early, 8 o'clock. Actually, no, you won't. Oh, my goodness. You're not going to be able to. I might have to do a record like the night before, after the game, just give you some of my thoughts, because I'm going to be getting the Eurostar tomorrow morning. My Eurostar is at 8 o'clock, so I can't do the usual 8 a.m. show, but I will try and record something after the game if we go through. If we don't go through, I probably won't. I'll be honest with you. But we'll, of course, talk about that more on Friday. But my train is very early tomorrow morning, so I'm not in a position to be able to do the show live. But if we go through, I will 100% try and get you something out for the morning that's pre-recorded, probably in the wake of the game, if I am coherent enough to do so. So, yeah. Watch out for that. Hopefully, will be something for you tomorrow morning, but probably only if Arsenal do end up going through, because I have a train to catch. Aoife says, watching last night's game, I just got the feeling the current team is unfortunately not ready to win the Champions League. There was so much speed in the attack, grit, final quality, things we just don't have enough of right now. Aoife, what I would say to you about that is that Arsenal this season have proven people very wrong in moments. Beating Real Madrid, beating Manchester City 5-1 this season, without key players like Bukayo Saka, for instance, getting good results. Liverpool earlier in the season 2-2, we deserved to win that game. 7-1 surprise. I remember being in Eindhoven. I sat outside the Eindhoven Philipsstadion talking on TalkSport basically about how I couldn't see Arsenal scoring. There's just been no real indication that Arsenal are going to score any goals of late. I couldn't see Arsenal getting a goal. They scored 7. This Arsenal team can surprise us. This Arsenal team can do things that we don't expect them to do. So what I would say to you, Ife, is that look back at this season, look back at these moments, and hopefully this Arsenal team can pull off yet another surprise. That's what we've got to be hopeful for. Claire says, there no Wi-Fi on the Eurostar? There is, but it's certainly not good enough to do a show. So sorry about that. There won't be a live show tomorrow morning. Unfortunately, I can't. Mike says, mate, if it happens as we hope, you will be in no state to do something after the game. Enjoy it. Well, I am working. So if indeed we do win, I won't be having a beer until at least gone midnight. So yeah, it's going to be very difficult. It's weird here. Obviously, on Europe, the continent, for those that are listeners are living on the continent, games being at 9 o'clock is a really odd time. In the UK, games being at 8 o'clock, you got time to get home, you got time to, get your trains. But here, like, games being at 9 in the evening means that most games finish at midnight. So fans trying to get places, it's difficult. When you're in a big city like Paris, it makes it easier because, of course, metros run late, you go Ubers or whatever. But if you're on my position, when a game finishes, I'm not done. I've got to go do the press conference, do the transcript, do the post-match piece, do the morning article. So if you're here for evening games, like I was for Eindhoven, like I was for Madrid, it's a very late night until you're done. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And Andrew says Greek games often start at 10. It's mad to me, like European games starting on the continent as late as they do here. It is a very interesting. One thing that has bugged me, and I am planning on trying to save this, is that obviously this has become a bit of a tradition going to games, and every single European away day I've been on this season, Girona, Eindhoven, Madrid, fridge magnet. When I was at the press conference yesterday, the first thing that Dino said to me, Sandine, was that there was no fridge magnets. There's a PSG store in the city that I'm going to try and get hold of one for, but yeah, that didn't fill me with confidence. So I've got to get on that. I've got to somehow work out where I'm going to get a PSG fridge magnet from to add to the collection. But bad omens, man. I don't need them. So I've got to try and work out a way of finding one somewhere. I'm sure in this massive city, I'll be able to find something that will do the job. So let's wait and see. I'll update you as soon as possible on my Twitter feed, as I usually do, if indeed I was successful. Thank you so much for listening. There's over 1,000 of you listening on YouTube this morning, which is absolutely brilliant. I know a lot of you are really excited ahead of today's game. I am certainly very excited to be there this evening at the Parc des Princes. Can Arsenal avenge Paris in the way that we hoped to have done many times before but haven't been able to? Can we turn the scoreline around? I certainly hope so. I certainly believe Arsenal can. I'm insanely excited. The clock is just ticking down at this point till tonight. Going to go enjoy the city, going to go look around, going to go get I'm going to do a classic Google of best pastry in Paris to find where I can get one of them. Yeah. And of course, those that are listening, if you want to see this ugly mug a little bit more, in about 25 minutes time, I should be on Sky Sports News. So chuck on the telly at 9 o'clock UK time and I should be over there. So I look forward to that. I look forward to seeing you all very, very soon and speaking to you as well. Have an absolutely fantastic day. Enjoy the game. If you're going tonight, amazing. If you're not, go somewhere you can enjoy it. And hopefully we'll be talking about Arsenal in the Champions League final. We can only cross our fingers. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful. And as always, up the Arsenal. Come on, you Gooners.